The Gemara in Yoma, Daf Yudalid, Daf Tezvav, speaks about as the Kohen Gadol prepares himself for Avodas Yom Kippurim, like the Mishnah says already 7 days before, the Kohen Gadol starts doing the Avodah to get himself, to get the practice. The Gemara says, Daf Tezvav, the blot that we're learning this week here in the morning Kollel, the Gemara says, quoting a Mishnah later, Tamid. They brought Yom Kippur in the morning, they brought the Korban Tamid to the Kohen Gadol. Kartzai, it's a Mishnah later, Kartzai, the Kohen Gadol shechted the Korban Tamid, Umirek Acher Shchita. In other words, the Kohen Gadol, how Rashi explains, wasn't able to do the full Shchita, as he had to do all the avodas, and the next avodah was Kabbalah, to be Makabal Tadam, to be Zoyrek. So Rashi explains, Kortzai Chatcha, he did the Shchita, Chatach Boi, he did partial Shchita, enough that it should be a good Shchita, Levishet Tzarachu Atzmai Lemaher Velitel Mizrak LaKabbalah Adam, he had to go right after the Shchita to do Kabbalah, so therefore, he couldn't do the whole Shechita, like the Gemara says. The remainder of the Shechita was done by somebody else, and the Kohen Gadol continued on with the Kabbalah Saddam. Yeah. Agav, it's interesting, it's the Lashon is Kartzai. Why Kartzai? Shachat. What's Kartzai? So the Taisus Yishanim says later on the Mishnah, this Gemara is quoting a Mishnah later, the reason why it says Kartzai, not Shechita, is because since he didn't do a full Shechita, therefore, it's a different lashon. It's kartzai. But upon him, the Kohen Gadol did not do the full shchita. Who is the one who finished up the shchita? It doesn't say over here who took over the Kohen Gadol. We're learning Hilchas Avodas Yom Kippurim, as we spoke about in a different shiur, that Avodas Yom Kippurim is Kohen Gadol. Here we see that this part is not Kohen Gadol. We're not going to speak about everything has to be Kohen Gadol. Part is not Kohen Gadol. Could a Zar do it? One of us, not a Kohen, could be do the Avodas Yom Kippurim to finish up the Shechita? Or does it have to dafke be Kohen? Be'etzem, Shechita B'Zar is Ksheira. Meaning to say, even though all avodas Beis Hamikdash dafka kohen not a zar, when it comes to shchita, a zar could shech the korban. A zar shchita ksheira bazar. That's klar. The shaila is, and it's a fundamental shaila, very big shaila. Could a zar shecht on Shabbos? Could a zar shecht on Shabbos? During the week, he for sure could shecht. We're talking about shchita for a korban in the Beis Hamikdash. What's about Shabbos? Do you say that being hayos shchita, which is one of the lamates malachis, is hutar to do on Shabbos in the Beis Hamikdash? It's hutar also for a zar, or maybe it's only hutar for a kohen. We'll soon see. It's a machloikis with reasons. But clearly, this is the most of the topic of today's shiur. Could a zar shecht on Shabbos? And of course, the nafkamin is our Gemara. The Kohen Gadol did not finish up doing the shchita. Was a zar able to take over the shchita on Yom Kippur? If he could shecht on Shabbos, then he could shecht on Yom Kippur. So there's a machloikis achroinim about this. Interesting. It's only first achroinim speak about it. The Rashash brings, the Rashash is actually on a Gemara Yevamis. But we'll first, and he's Medayik over there, but we'll first start, later on the Rashash goes to us. So we'll go to us first. Not an hour blot, because if you take a look at Rashi, by us, Rashi doesn't say anything about who takes over. But us, Rashi just says, he couldn't do it. But who, yes? Does it have to be another Kohen, or a Zar is fine? If you take a look later, so over here Rashi says on the Mishnah Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Bais, we'll get there Be'ez Hashem, Kartzoi umireik acher v'gomar, says Rashi, v'gomar koyen acher. Rashi says koyen. Why does Rashi have to say koyen? What's wrong with the lashon itself of the Mishnah that says acher, a different person? Koyen? It seems from Rashi that dafka a koyen. Only a koyen could finish up. Das heißt on the Yesodis de Geshaila. We're going to be zoiche, the Beis HaMikdash is going to be rebuilt b'korov. And the shaila is, could we all not kohanim get involved on Shabbos and do shchita? You see from here the dafka kohen. Rashi and Yevamis. We don't have to go into the whole Gemara to learn the Gemara, but the Gemara says it's talking about bezar sheshimesh b'Shabbos, and the Gemara says shchita bezar kshera. Shchita bezar kshera. Zokt Rashi, shchita bezar kshera ve'en kan zaris. Ve'en kan zaris. Meaning to say is, if a zar, not a kohen, does zrika, of course he can't do zrika. Mashek and shchita he could. So Rashi says ve'en kan zaris, but says the Rashash, there only isn't zaris. However, Mitzad the Isser Shabbos, there is. What does it mean Mitzad the Isser Shabbos there is? That a Kohen cannot shecht, a Zar cannot shecht on Shabbos. So the Shash is medayik from the Rashi, Yisrael that shechts on Shabbos, Mitzad Zaris, there's no problem because a Zar is allowed to shecht, But Mitzad the Isser Shabbos there is because you're not, these are Isser. It's not only a diak from Rashi by us, later in the Masechta, and Rashi in the Gemara in Yevamis, the Rashash brings a Gemara. The Gemara in Sanhedrin. The Gemara in Sanhedrin speaks about the Oynish lagabe a Kohen and a Kohenes. And the Gemara says, Sreifa is more Chamer. The Gemara says that a Kohen maybe doesn't have as much as a Chamer diga Oynish of Sreifa, like a kohenes. Why? Shekain, a kohen, it's more kal for him, the Isser Shabbos, shaharei, a kohen is hutar loy avoida in the Bais HaMikdash, the Gemara. Ma she'en kein, a kohenes, that says the bas kohen, not. So therefore, maybe a bas kohen, that's why a bas kohen is besreifa, because it's more chamer. Shabbos is more chamer as opposed to a kohen. Avodah is kedusha Shabbos, but the Torah is matter for a kohen to do avodah, to say tchil Shabbos, to do avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. Dr. Rashash, wait a second. Shchita kshera bezar and also benashim, clearly. So what do you mean? If you could shecht on Shabbos, so what are you telling me that it's hutar loy a kohen, not a kohenes b'Shabbos? A kohenes also. If a zar could shecht on Shabbos, it's hutar loy for her as well. So Mela Dr. Rashash, a raya, a clear raya, that shchita for a zar b'Shabbos is aser. The Aruch HaShulchan brings a raya, l'chayr, it's a mafurish Gemara, the Gemara in Yevamis Lamed Bais Amud Bais. The Aruch HaShulchan, it's Aruch HaShulchan asid on Kachim, and he says, the Gemara says, Shabbos lakol nesra, Lashon HaGemara, kishehutra b'migdash l'kehanim hutra v'loy lezarim. Kishehutra in the Beis HaMikdash, Shabbos, it's l'kahana v'loy lezarim. If you hold that a zar could shecht on Shabbos, then l'chayr it's hutra lezarim also. So what did we speak so far very clearly? Zokter Rashash, these others, the Shara Melech, the Beis Meir, others go with the Rashash that a zar cannot shecht in the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos. During the week you could, not on Shabbos. Where did we get into this whole discussion? From our Gemara that the Kohen Gadol didn't finish, and Memela Rashi says Kohen Acher, Kohen did it. Why do you have to have a Kohen? Was saying because a Zar is now let a shecht on Shabbos. Is it shchita over here? L'chayra, it's not shchita. The Kohen Gadol already did the shchita. Zok the Prima Godim that even finishing shchita is also called shchita the Isser. But this is a Hilchas Shabbos discussion. Reb Shlomo Kluger right there is Magia, and he argues, he says that's not called. The Isser HaTorah of Shechita is when it's alive and you shecht it and now it's dying. But here, when the Kohen Gadol did the Shechita already, the animal's going to die. By somebody else coming and helping out, doing the remainder, that's not the Isser HaTorah. So what I want to just point out is this, that we're coming off our Gemara, that a different Kohen had to finish up because Shechita is Aser b'Shabbos l'zar. It could be it's taka aser like the Rashash says, but it could still be mutter for a zar to finish up the avodas Yoma Kippurim, the Korban Tamid, because that's not called shchita b'zar, because the Kohen Gadol already did the shchita. So we have so far very clear, Dr. Rashash, a zar cannot shecht in the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos. Why not? Why not? If you could shecht during the week, and the pshat is because a zar could shecht, so why can't he shecht on Shabbos? Why not? Why not? So there are two reasons. Reason number one, the Beis Meir says, he goes like the Rashash and he says, you know why? Because when the Torah was matter to do shchita or any avodas in the Beis Hamikdash, it's because you're able to continue and do the remainder avodas. You don't have to do the remainder avodas. There's a few kahanim were able to split up the avodas Beis Hamikdash, one shchita, the next one zrika, but at least you have to be able to finish. A zar, he could do shchita, but that's all he could do. He can't do the remainder avodas. Kabbalah, haylacha, zrika, he can't do. Therefore, he can't shecht on Shabbos. You have to be able to finish, follow through. You don't have to be able to do it b'poyel, but at least you have to be able to follow through. And therefore, negeya lamaisa, the Beis Meir says himself brings it, but it's gepaskin and Shulchan Aruch in Hilchas Mila. I have to bring it in a mile. So the Shulchan Aruch says the Mechaber holds that two moilim can't do the same bris on Shabbos, which means one moil will do the Mila, and the next moil will do the Priya on a regular day. Be'etzim you could split it. Be'etzim. On Shabbos, says the Mechaber, you cannot. Mila is Chil Shabbos, it's Doicher Shabbos, but Yoma Shmini Afilu B'Shabbos, it's Doicher Shabbos, but two moilim cannot do it. One moil has to do the whole thing. The Ramah, the whole bris, the Ramah says that you could. Why could you? Zok the Ramah, B'doima to avoid in the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos. You had multiple of Kohanim. You don't have to have one Kohen that did all the avodas. So too, by Mila, one moil could do the Mila, one moil could do the Priya. That's the Ramah. It's a whole, spoke about it, I think it was, I don't remember if it was here in the morning call, in the night call, but a whole shiur about it, Beis Moil and Shabbos. Just a second, so why am I bringing it in? Okay, like I said before, something that I can bring in Mila, but the emes is, it's very negay like this. The Beis Meir says, you know why the Kohen, Azar, can't do the shchita on Shabbos because he can't bepoil follow through. Masha'inkein Kohanim, one Kohen could shecht and the other one could do zrika because he technically could. It would just come out lagavi two moilim that the Ramah says that the two moilim could, but it has to be that the moil could also do the Priya. Yesh Lodon, if the Moil doesn't know how to do Priya, could he do just the meal on Shabbos and someone else do the Priya? Is it considered that Lamaisa he could because he's in Halacha he could, but Lamaisa technically he doesn't know how to do it, so he can't finish up? Good, that's a Shaila, a Miladiga Shaila. But Legabe in Yanenu says the Beis Meir, the reason why a Zar cannot shecht on Shabbos is because you have to be able to finish it up. You don't have to finish it with Poil, but you have to be able to finish it up. A Zar, he could do Shchita, but he can't do any other Avodas. Even Shchita he can't do. Yeah.
So I wonder if this ties into the halacha on Shabbos, that if there's an Isser that one person could do, but it's done by two people, then they're not responsible. Like,
Shnaim Sha'asu, yes.
Yeah. I don't know if that ties in the idea of being able to do it. It's considered as if he's being part of it, and therefore it's like two people doing it. And if two people do a job of one person, then it's not an Isser.
I hear, but Lamaisa, if you talk about Mila or even Shchita Le'inyanenu, Lamaisa, the Mila itself is Chil Shabbos. The Shchita itself is Chil Shabbos. So the question is, could you just do a part of, let's call it the mitzvah, a part of the Avodah? Shchita itself is not enough. You have to do all the other Avodas. That shmuz that you're bringing Lagabe Shabbos Shnaim Sha'asu, so that's a sugya. What's the Gadol when two people do it? If you only do half of it, you didn't do the full malacha. Over here, the shchita is a full malacha, full chil Shabbos. Meal is full chil Shabbos. But says the Beis Meir, you can only do it if you're able to do the full mitzvah. If you can't do the full mitzvah, you can't do it.
Like the you take the meal. So if the father knows how to do meal, he doesn't know how to do free. This was the father to do it. So does that override Shabbos?
If what say?
So if he only knows how to do the first step of Mila, so he shouldn't do it. But if it's the father, he knows how to do the first step. Most fathers don't know how to do anything. He knows how to do the first step. He has first rodeo, whatever it is. Is he allowed to do the Mila and regular Mila finish the Priya on Shabbos? Because he has a mitzvah to do it himself.
So if I understand your question, and maybe we'll speak about it afterwards, but I just want to bring out these halacha that your first bris is not allowed to be on Shabbos. And there is a discussion about, for the father, maybe these what to be makel, all sorts of separate shmuz for itself.
It's a third kid though. It's not his first son.
So what does it have to do with the father? If you could split it, it's a machlek is machaber Ramah. The Ramah says you could split two mailim.
Even if you that you can't, the father has a specific mitzvah to do it.
Correct. But if, let's say like the machaber, that you can't split it. So as much as the father has the mitzvah, you can't. If the reason is because you have to be able to be goymer the mitzvah. I love what you're saying, because let's go to the other reason, and Kubi Takadir would be, yes, what to talk about. There's another reason why a zar can't shecht on Shabbos. But just on this reason that we said you have to be able to finish up to do it. So my grandfather, in the Sefer Malchamis Yudan Kachim, he's a Talmud in Chachma Lublin. He put out a Sefer when he learned in Lublin as a Bacher. He has a Skamas from Rabbi, Rabbi Zalman should be in Rav. He goes through this discussion and he asks, wait a second, in our Gemara, the Kohen Gadol did the Shechita, but he didn't finish the Shechita. Obviously, the question is why, but you see the Kohen Gadol was able to shecht, even though he didn't finish and he wasn't able to finish. We gave it over to somebody else. That's what we're talking about now. So how could you tell me that the reason why the Zar can't shecht is because he can't finish? The Kohen Gadol was not able to finish and still he did the Shechita. There's another reason to say why a Zar cannot shecht on Shabbos, and that's because Kohanim are mechuyev to do the Avodah. A Zar is not mechuyev to do the Shechita. If he wants, he could do the Shechita. He's not mechuyev. When the Torah was mater Chilul Shabbos in the Bais HaMikdash, the Torah was only mater for those that have to do the Avodah, not for those that are allowed to do the Avodah. That's why it could be it's relevant to what you're saying. Like Shechita, maybe the father is more in the Chiyuv. But another reason why a Zar can't shecht on Shabbos, A zar is allowed to shech throughout the week. He's not mechuyev. The kohanim are responsible to do the shechita. So when the Torah is matter, the avodas in the Beis Hamikdash, even though it includes, the Torah requires the avodas, even though it includes Chil Shabbos, that's only for those that have to do it. The kohanim have to do it. The Yisraelim do not have to do it. They're allowed to do the shechita, and therefore it's not hutar. Atkan shitas harashash me'idoch, the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish argues, and the Chazon Ish says that a zar could shecht on Shabbos in the Beis Hamikdash. So first of all, let's try to go through the Rashash's rayas and be meyashiv, and the Chazon Ish has his set of rayas to say that it's mutter. The Rashi by us that says Kohen, these are girsa in many Gemaras. They have a star to the side. Instead of Kohen, these are girsa bohen. Bohen meaning to say it's not a Kohen, but bohen. Anyone else, lav dafka Kohen. When the Kohen Gadol did the shechita, someone to take over, didn't have to be a Kohen, it could have been a zar also. The Rav on the Mishnah, later Daf Lamed Aleph, the Rav says, it's taka v'gomar bohen acher shechita. Somebody else, bohen, not a Kohen. The Rambam, if you take a look at the Rambam and Avodas Yom Kippur and Perek Dalid, says the Rambam, when speaking about this halacha, the Rambam says, Umeniach acher ligmar shechita. Somebody else finishes the shechita. Somebody else. It doesn't say, it's not a raya, that it doesn't have to be a Kohen, because the Mishnah says acher, but it doesn't say Kohen. What Rashi puts says Kohen. Some even Rashi don't have the Gersa. The Rav, the Rambam, they don't say Kohen. We said the Rashi in Yevomis that says that Shechita b'Shabbos ve'ein boi mishum zaris, but would be mashma that there is Chilul Shabbos. There is Chilul Shabbos. So for that, says the Chazon Ish, no. Ein boi mishum zaris, and because ein boi mishum zaris, there's also no Chilul Shabbos. If he can't do the avodah, if there'll be a different malacha that he does in the Beis Hamikdash that he can't do that avodah, there'll be Chol Shabbos also. But here, because ein boi mishum zaris, meaning to say as a zar is allowed to shecht, hu adin on Shabbos he's allowed to shecht, and there won't be avodah. It won't be the ein boi mishum Shabbos also. We had a Gemara Mefureshes of Sanhedrin. The Gemara says, as we said before, that maybe a Bas Kohen has a more Chamadir Einish of Sreifa because she doesn't have the heter of Avodah of Chil Shabbos doing Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. So l'chayr, she does have the heter. She's allowed to shecht. Shchita Ksheira Bazar even on Shabbos. I heard over a teretz, to be miyash of this, somebody who heard this from Reb Pekarsky. He was a Magachir in Chabad, and he was a Talmid of the Kozhik Rav. He was the Rosh Hashiva in Chachma Lublin after Meir Shapiro. And the Kozhik Rav was miyashav a yesoidistige vort over here, which is the gay and next Shabbos is Parsha Shkolim. We actually spoke about it over here by Riches. But he said the following. He said, what karbonis did we shecht on Shabbos? It's a little bit of a kachim de geshir, but lamaisa we're learning Masechtes Yoma, so it's good, it's a chelik of Torah. What karbonis were brought on Shabbos? Only a korban tzibur. A korban yachid wasn't doiche Shabbos, only a korban tzibur, the korban Tamid, the korban musaf. Ladies did not give machtas hashekel. The Mishnah in Shkolim, ladies did not give, for whatever reason, these different reasons, ladies did not give Shkolim. So Mela, he says that since ladies didn't give Shkolim, they weren't a part of the korban. If they weren't part of the korban, so Mela, they couldn't shecht. Meaning to say is, be'etzem, like the Chazon Ish, shchita ksheira bazar. They could, even on Shabbos. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says by a Bas Kohen that she couldn't. Oh, that's different because it's a lady, but not mitzat shchita. Be'etzem, Nachum also ksheir and bazar, Nachum also k'checht. But not on Shabbos because they're not shaycha to the karbanis. But just lahashlom asa inyan on this topic, lamaisa, it's not so pashut that ladies are not shaycha to the karbanis. There's a whole stipler in Zvachim. Lamaisa, ladies daven musaf. They daven musaf. That's what we spoke about a couple of years ago on Shabbos Shkol Mashiach. Meaning to say is even if they didn't chip into the carbon, they're meshach shaycha to the kapara. So if they're shayach to the kapara, then it could be be'etzem it should come out if they're shayach to the kapara that they could shecht. Fine. The Chazon Ish brings two rayas to what he says that a zar could shecht even on Shabbos. First raya is back to our Gemara. The Gemara says that the Kohen Gadol began and somebody else finished. And today the whole discussion is who was that somebody else? Did it have to be a Kohen or even a zar? That's the whole discussion we're talking about over here. Says the Chazon Ish, the Heilige Chazon Ish, wait a second. If you tell me that a zar cannot shecht on Shabbos, I have news for you. A Kohen on Yom Kippur is like a zar on every Shabbos. Why? Who is supposed to do the avodah on Yom Kippur? We spoke about this in the past. Dafka the Kohen Gadol. Elamai what? The Kohen Gadol needed someone else to take over. So why is a Kohen any better? How could anyone else do it? Even a Kohen. A Kohen is like a zar every Shabbos. Elamai, somebody could finish it, whoever the somebody is. So if somebody could finish the avodah on Yom Kippur, it comes out that if someone else could do it, it's because a zar could shecht on Shabbos. The Chazon Ish says that anyone that's going to finish this Tamid on Yom Kippur is a zar. He has no shaychus to avodah Yom Kippur. I don't care if he's a Kohen or he's a Yisrael, he's a zar. And if someone can finish the avodas Yom Kippurim, the Korban Tamid on Yom Kippur, every Shabbos a zar also could do it. The Chazon Ish brings another raya. The Chazon Ish brings another raya. The Rashash brings this raya in his miyashiv. We'll get to that in a minute. But the Chazon Ish says, I have a Gemara. It's a Mishnah. The Mishnah in Pesachim speaks about the halachas of a Korban Pesach that was brought on Erev Pesach. And the Mishnah says, Kemaseyu b'choil, kach maseyu b'Shabbos. The halachas of bringing a Korban Pesach on b'choil, the same halachas that apply for a Korban Pesach brought b'choil, which means Erev Pesach b'choil, is the same halachas for Erev Pesach shechalias b'Shabbos. This year, haba leinu l'toiva, we should be zoichet, should be negeya in the Bais HaMikdash. The same halachas. The Mishnah just says Elisha kahana medichem azora, because it was Shabbos, they rinsed out azora shaloi b'tzayin chachamim. Says the Chazon Ish, wait a second. There's a riesige nafgemina between Yichoil and Shabbos. Legabi Korban Pesach, could the Bailim, or any zar, but the Bailim, could he shecht it? Could he shecht the Korban Pesach? On a regular year, when Erev Pesach was B'choil, who shechted the Korban Pesach? The Bailim shechted the Korban Pesach. Yizicha could, he was even a lot chatchilo, Shaykh Shlichas, but Al Kapanim, that Yizicha was able to. If, like the Rashash, that a zar can't shecht b'Shabbos, so Erev, the Mishnah should have said there's a clear nafgemina between Erev Pesach, a regular year b'choil, to Erev Pesach shechal b'Shabbos. Al Korchach, says the Chazon Ish, a zar, a Yisrael could shecht in the Bais HaMikdash even on Shabbos. What is the Rashash going to answer to this? The Rashash himself brings it, and the Rashash says, Korban Pesach is different. Every other Korban, a Zar can shecht. But Hayoysa Korban Pesach, the L'tchatchila, the Shechita is Bebailim. If the L'tchatchila, it doesn't have to be Bebailim. If he doesn't know how to do it, someone else can do it. But L'tchatchila is Bebailim, this will be an exception. Korban Pesach will be an exception that even on Shabbos a Zar could shecht. So just to conclude and wrap up what we spoke, I didn't get to it, but just to know that there's another halacha that comes out from this din, Lagabe, a Hilchas Chanukah de Gedin, but it's not, when we're holding now close to Purim, not close to Chanukah, so we don't have to push it in. But just to conclude, and the takeaway from today's Shiur is very clear. These are machloikis, a fundamental machloikis achroinim. Kishiyabana Beis HaMikdash, we're going to have a Beis HaMikdash. Could all of us, not only kohanim, shecht on Shabbos during the week avad, the shchitik sheir bazar. But what's about on Shabbos? Could a zar shecht? Not only on Shabbos, on Yom Kippur. The Kohen Avodah was by Kohen Gadol, but the Kohen Gadol wasn't able to finish up the shchita. Somebody else had to take him over. Could a zar take over the remainder of the shchita, even on Yom Kippur? It's a machloikis. Have a wonderful Shabbos.